want to go ahead. All right, everybody, I want to go ahead and introduce the guild in which I have with me here today. As you very well know, we always pretty much do a guild interview here on every Saturday. Let me turn down that background music here a little bit. Here on your radio. And today we have with us Clan NapaValley of Napa Valley. So I want to basically take the time to introduce who all we have with us here today on your radio. And I'm just trying to get everything sorted out. And we have the Guildmaster and 4 of his fellow guild members here with us today. And we have Adewolf, who's the Guildmaster of, I think, Clan NapaValley of Napa Valley. And I'm going to go ahead and give him an opportunity to introduce himself to you all. So with that said, go ahead and introduce yourself, Adewolf.
Hey, how are we doing? Again, my name's Adewolf. I'm actually the founder and GM of NapaValley. We've been around since about 2000. And again, both the founder and the current guild master. I also brought some other folks here, both from the main guild as well as our Bear Clan PvP stone.
Well, it's great having you here with us and everything, and I'm glad you could join us. You know, thank you for coming. And we also have L. Brian from the guild here. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is L. Brian. I'm actually a member of the Ducal Guard, my job is to help protect Adewolf and the High Council members. I've been playing for about 2 years. I'm also one of the elders in the Bear Clan, which is our PvP stone.
Well, thank you for joining, and glad to have you here. And, of course, we have Hines also here with us, and so go ahead and say hello to everybody out there.
Well, hi, everyone out there. I've been playing UO for, I think, about 3.5 years. I've been a part of the guild for 3 years. I was recently promoted to become part of the High Council, which is a great honor and also a lot of work, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure it takes a lot of work being a High Council member of any guild, especially a guild as big as Clan NapaValley of Napa Valley, you know, being one of the biggest guilds that you guys are over there. And we have Lank over here from the guild, and I'm going to go ahead and give him an opportunity to introduce himself as well. Go ahead, Lank.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lank. That's short for Lancaster, and I've been an Ultima Online addict for over 8 years now. And out of this bunch, I'm the newest addition to NapaValley. I've been in the guild for 4 months, and I'm also currently one of the elders for the Bearstone.
Wow, you really did move up quite fast, didn't you? And also a veteran player of Ultima Online, as I'd like to share with you quickly. I've also been playing about 8 years, so it's great seeing another old-time player of Ultima Online. Great having you here with us, by the way, Lank. Let's see, and last but not least, we have Livia from the guild. And so go ahead and say hello to everybody out there, Livia.
Hi, my name's Livia. I've been with the guild for 4 years, and I was a beta tester for UO, and I've been with the game ever since. Guess that's about it.
Wow, beta tester. You've been playing the game for about 8 or 9 years, too?
Yeah, ever since the beta came out, and also I should have mentioned I'm one of the High Council members. I'm the court seneschal. I handle the candidates.
Wow, I mean, because I've never even played beta, but I mean, whenever I see and hear about a lot of old players that have been with us for a long time, you know, in the game of Ultima Online, I just think, wow, you've been around for quite a long time, and you've seen a lot of changes come in the game. From beta all the way to present, and that's quite an accomplishment, I must say. So once again, I want to thank you all for being here with us and everything, and let's go ahead and just jump right into the questions and everything. I guess what we'll start out with is tell us a little bit about what type of guild you guys are and everything. If you can let some of the listeners out there know what it is you guys do and stuff like that. Go ahead, Adewolf.
Yeah, basically we've been primarily a PVM adventure and questing guild since our family. Before that, it really was kind of tough to do hunting with all the failed dungeons and whatnot. So once Trammell came about, A lot of folks are want to do, dungeon crawls, a lot more of the PVM content. We've been specializing in that really since our inception, doing everything, from Doom, dungeon crawls, throughout the week, all the Peerless champs, all that kind of good stuff.
Okay, and let me ask you another question on that. You guys do have like a PvP guild as well, right? Or a different, kind of like faction of the guild or something like of that nature?
Yeah, basically we had a lot of folks who did want to do PvP, so we created a little PvP stone for them. Had it started out a long time ago, probably 3 or 4 years back. We did a huge guild quest. We had a little bear clan as part of the quest where folks were actors in this role-play quest. It really caught on, so we actually turned that into its own separate stone for all of our PvP folks. So it really is a role-playing PvP/PvP stone for them.
All right, well, that's definitely good to know and everything. And you guys don't have a third stone by any chance for factions and stuff like that, do you?
Well, we actually have had the bear stone both in and out of factions. Really, it's up to the group how they want to go ahead and play with that. Our current third stone is the M*F stone. That's our recruitment stone.
All right, and do you guys have any other stones that you might want to let people know about?
Actually, no, we're down to 3 right now. We've had, I think, 5 at our peak, down to 3 right now.
Yeah, I'm sure it gets a little tiresome managing all those different guild stones after a while. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on to our next question and everything. So how old is the guild and everything? How did it come about? How old is it? When was it, created? And, what's it all about?
Actually, it's kind of a funny story. All started back when Trammell first popped out. I dropped a castle by pure luck and called the castle Merrick Fowl. Merrick Fowl is Gaelic for, Mystic Castle, the wolf, kind of play on my own name when I did it. And I created Guildstone just for my own characters. I never had the intention of building a guild, just wanted to play the game, kind of do my own thing. And I was in Delucia one day, and the guy's like, "Hey, can I join your guild?" I'm like, well, sure, what the heck? I sent the guy in, and I guess I better kind of do some stuff for this guy now, shouldn't I? So I started building events, built a website, and within 2 months had over 150 members.
Wow, and so you're the one who created the website as well, right?
Yeah, actually, I built the whole website from scratch. It's all done in ASP code, SQL Server. Wrote all the code myself. Basically, when I was working with the guild initially, there really weren't any tools out there to support guilds of more than 100 people. So as we grew to 150, 200, 250 people, I really needed a management tool. So I'd say most of my work there really is just building the infrastructure to make the whole guild happen, make everything work efficiently.
And now that you mentioned the guild website and everything, can you go ahead and just tell us the website address for that guild?
Yeah, it's www.britannia-online.com.
All right, and let's see. Are you guys actively recruiting right now?
Oh yeah, we're always recruiting, always looking for really good team-oriented players. We try to have a pretty good mature player base. Basically, I expect folks to be able to work with the group, be good folks, and it works out pretty good. It's a good team.
Okay, and now for my follow-up question to that. Whenever you guys are actively recruiting, what can a new member or a person who's thinking about joining your guild, what can they kind of look forward to? What kind of things can they expect? I mean, what's the whole process of becoming a full-fledged member of your guild and everything?
Well, actually, so I happen to have Livia here, who is our court seneschal, who's in charge of new recruits. I can go ahead and turn it over to her so you can go ahead and talk about that process.
Sure thing. Go ahead, Livia.
Okay, when people want to join the guild, they fill out an application on the guild website. So that's the first step. They have to go to the website, fill out the application, send it in, and then someone contacts them for an interview, or they can contact an interviewer themselves. There's a list on the website of people that they can contact if they want an interview. And then after they meet with that person, usually you have the interview at the castle, and we explain the hunt rules, how we do our hunts, and how the membership works, basically everything about the guild that the person would want to know and that we want them to know before they join. And if the interview goes well, which normally it does, then the person is put on our candidate stone, and they have to do one hunt on the candidate stone, and they need an A+ hunt report from their leader of the hunt that they're with. If they get that A+ report, then they need to do 2 more besides the one, so there's 3 altogether. After the 3rd hunt that they do, they're put on the main guild stone, and then they're a member.
All right, and what if they're just simply looking to join the PvP stone? Do you have any information about that you can maybe share with us? Go ahead, Eddie Wolf.
Yeah, basically for that, it is a long process to get into the main guild. We really want to check, teamwork, attitude, compatibility with the group. Once somebody is in the main guild, they have the luxury of putting the character on our PvP stone as well. So really, all of our PvPers have to have a main who's in the main guild.
Okay, so in other words, and correct me if I'm wrong. So in other words, in order to get into this PvP portion of the guild, you basically have to go through the whole candidate process, and you can't just simply, bypass that and just join the PvP guild. But let me go ahead and turn this over to Lank. Lank, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that basically our PvP stone does not recruit separately from the main guild. Our PvP stone is basically just an outlet for those of our players who would like to experience PvP to come and join us and to be able to do that freely.
Very good point. And go ahead, Eddie Wolf.
Yeah, probably as a side comment, the reality is that we are a large guild. Probably only about 25% of the folks that apply ever do make it all the way through. It is a tough process, but it's helped us build, I think, a very strong, very healthy, organized group as a result of it, and that really does extend not only to the PvE side, but also over to our PvP side as well.
Okay, and Livia, go ahead.
Part of the reason that they have to join Merit Fowl first is because we need to make sure that these people are people that the members can count on to work together as a team, to be loyal, to be people that you can trust when you're hunting, and they're usually mature individuals. They're not running amok. So if you go through the hunt process with the main guild, then you're pretty well set for joining the PvP stone, and we know that you're okay to handle everything that comes up.
Right. Ada Wolf, go ahead.
Yeah, I think on that a little bit more. Basically, our entire guild culture really is centered around, team play, group PvE. So as a result, we are, very well structured, very organized. It's something you don't see in a lot of guilds. Most it's like, groups of friends or just guilds to be guilds. Our entire organization, hierarchy, ranking, our entire culture, really is based, at the end of the day, on PvE combat. So it's a little bit different than a lot of groups out there.
Yeah. And so, about the whole process of getting in and everything, do you ever have, is it more of a process to weed out those who might be a drama king or a queen, or does that still happen even though you've gone through this long, extensive process? Do you still have problems with some of the full-fledged members later on, down the road, and how do you deal with those kind of things? Go ahead, Ada.
Oh, you're always going to have, problem members, obviously. It does help weed out people who are impatient and really just can't work with you. I've had some folks who are, great, amazing individual players, absolutely lousy inside of a group, So it helps weed out that. But you still get the bad eggs once in a while. We try to be very objective about it, have a lot of hierarchy and structure to it, and that does help some stuff. But again, in 5-6 years, you're always going to have some very memorable moments.
I bet. I know I have a few of my own, being, once a guildmaster, or should I say like a co-leader, like one of the high leaders. I think I was like third in charge of this guild over on Chesapeake, LLK, and we had about 120 people in it. Yes, you always have those kind of memorable moments from those kind of things. So, How do you actually deal? How do you deal with anything that arises? Where there's a problem that needs to be addressed. Do you guys have a court system as to what it goes through, or are you pretty much the person that pretty much acts as judge and final decision, or what? What's the process for that? Go ahead, Ada Wolf.
Well, from a background standpoint, the reality is our High Council members generally have been in the Guild at least 2 years, some as long as 4 years. And we have a very stable, very long-term group that runs the Guild. I think has been very helpful. They have that whole foundation built. So when a problem does arise, again, folks have seen it before, they've been through this before. We usually talk about that as HC members and try to talk to members, see if we can correct the behavior first. And honestly, if it's not correctable, we will boot people. Honestly, the importance of and the health of the group is more important than one person's individual drama. And the way I see it is, if all you have is time for drama, you can't be in this group. It's not going to work out.
Yeah, I know how that goes. All right, so let's see. The next question I have here is, what kind of events do you guys do on a regular basis? I'm sure being a big guild and everything, you guys pretty much probably had to do something to get there, and so I would imagine events had something to do with that. Go ahead. Well, both of these lights lit up here for me, so I guess we'll go with Ada Wolf, then we'll go with L. Bryan.
Okay. We do, weekly hunts. We do events. We do everything from scavenger hunts, PvP events, tournaments, all kinds of stuff. We really do try to encourage the members to lead whenever possible. To lead a hunt, to lead an event, to host things, just so they can go ahead and grow as individuals and become, future leaders within the group. I'll go ahead and turn it over to L. Bryan for any additional comments that he might have too.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to build on what Adel said. We have our weekly scheduled hunts, but most of our senior members can lead hunts to Peerless, to Doom, to Champs, to whatever they want to do. We have events ranging from finding a scavenger hunt all the way up to champ sites.
All right, and Olivia, go ahead.
And that's one of the reasons that I joined this guild in the first place, was because before I joined the guild, I had about 10 people that I played with in the game. I had 10 people in my ICQ list. After I joined the guild, I've got about 150 people in my ICQ list. If I want to hunt, I've always got someone to go do something with, and it kind of works out as a cheat for me, because anytime I want to do something, I can do whatever I want to do and take people with me. So if I want to go collect hides, I can do a hide raising hunt. If I want to go work on my skills, I can do a skill building hunt. There's so many different things you can do, and it's all up to you to do it.
Well, that's definitely a great way to go about, recruiting or finding new potential members that might be interested in these kind of activities. Go ahead, Hines.
I just wanted to mention that right now the guild has been very active with the new Peerless. I think we've gotten a good group of new members since the ML expansion, and we've certainly taken advantage of the new, more difficult bosses. I think you can understand that a guild our size would obviously excel because of this, and we certainly have been taking advantage of this. I would say on an average, in some form or another, we do, I would guess, 10 to 20 Peerless every week. So I'm really happy for that, and certainly, like I said, the large guild certainly helps with that.
Well, yeah, I would imagine it would, especially whenever you need a large group of people to go fight those Peerless monsters over with the ML expansion. For all the new listeners out there who do not know what ML is, that's Modane's Legacy. So, go ahead, Ada Wolf.
Well, let's say, too, back to the original culture idea of the guild, it really is built to allow folks to experience leadership. In our hunts, you lead a small group of 3 or 4 folks. You may lead an entire hunt. And again, through this experience, as a leader, you elevate throughout the entire guild. So really, the idea of hunting and PD really is into our entire culture, and the Peerless have been a phenomenal addition to that. Just because before, honestly, how many times can you do shame or covetous or even do it? There really was no more challenge left there. So it's good to see they are adding really, higher end content, for larger groups like us.
And I got a question for you about that coming later on, but first we're going to get to Olivia. Go ahead, Olivia.
Well, one of the other things I've found is now that they have the guild chat within the game, it's really been so helpful as far as learning about the game and meeting people and doing things with everyone. If you want to go on a hunt, it's been so helpful for that.
Yeah, I would imagine so, and yeah, I have to totally agree with you that that's been a very useful feature for communicating with guilds and alliances, for that matter. So I can't disagree, with that comment. I just can't. Adewolf, you was mentioning something about shame and everything, how that kind of lacks content now and everything. Would you, speaking on that, maybe one of the developers at Electronic Arts will be listening to this later on, hopefully, who knows. But, if you could give some feedback to the developers about, for example, the dungeons that, are kind of old, kind of missing content or something like that, would you not like to see something like something more done with those dungeons, or maybe add more content or breathe life back into those dungeons, or what? Starting with the Adewolf, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the one thing I like about some kind of other games is the idea of going to a dungeon and actually defeat it. You walk into Shame, elemental spawn, they're going to keep on spawning, they're never going to stop. There's really no way to beat the content. Peerless actually had that capability, which is kind of nice. If they could really extend that ability to places like Shame, Covetous, and even to beat them up a little bit, where you really could, go through the content, beat the content, have some kind of end goal that's, very achievable, for a large group over the course of, 2 or 3 hours, that'd be absolutely awesome. That'd probably be my one major point of feedback for the PvE content within UO.
So you maybe, and this has always been something we've been kind of discussing in our talk shows on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, is that, we'd like to see them tied in more with the virtues and stuff like that. And, I think there's a lot of room to expand with what we already have rather than actually going out and create new content, because, we got so much landmass, we got so many dungeons that it's like, we got so many as is, so why don't we do something more with them? So go ahead, Brian. Let's hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I agree with Adel on that. I think some of the dungeons, if we had that ability to actually fight our way through, I know they tried to do it with when they had I just went completely blank on what I was thinking, the Brit invasion, where we had the spawning tiles where we actually looked like we were defeating them. I think that would make the game so much better. And I also agree with you that I think it should be tied more into the virtues and what they've done. They've just let them sit by the wayside for so long now.
Yeah, speaking of wayside, they sure could finish up the virtues for that matter, because, gosh, that's just like one of the things in which Ultima centers around. It's the pure virtues, and we haven't quite seen that completed yet. So hopefully they'll get around to completing that here before long, within the next year or two. But it's like one of those things. It's like 8 years into the game, and it still hasn't been quite finished. But go ahead, Hines. Let's hear what you have to say about that.
I just wanted to mention that with the guild our size, we're very fortunate where if we want to, we are able to take advantage even of some of the easier dungeons where there really isn't a challenge. I know a couple of our members have hosted events called the Naked Dungeon Crawls, where basically you go in there with a torch and a sword, and there you go. You're kind of left to your own, and you don't have night sight, you're not able to see anything, and what you finish the hunt is with what you loot from the monsters. And so I think that our guild is very fortunate that we have a lot of innovative people, a lot of people that take time to create environments and events where that even, draw upon even some of the less challenging dungeons.
Yeah, I have to totally agree with that. It's definitely always great to have people that are very creative with those kind of events and mix it up a little bit rather than making it usual, kind of make it unusual. So, yeah, that's definitely unusual, and that actually sounds very interesting. Go ahead, Lank. Let's hear what you have to say.
I just wanted to follow up on what we were talking about, how the old dungeons have pretty much become too easy for players these days. But those of us who've been around for 8 years, we remember the times when a demon would come by and would send 50 people scattering and obliterate entire guilds. And now that just doesn't happen anymore, because over the years with all the expansions, the players have become extremely powerful. and unfortunately, some people, like archers, for example, they can take down a dragon in 2 or 3 hits. I think it's a good thing that currently on U-Haul, if you read some of the comments from the dev team, they are trying to address the role-play aspect of where Ultima is going, so that you will not be, hopefully you won't be able to kill a dragon in 2 or 3 hits, because that just really doesn't tie into the role-play aspect of the game. And I think that if the devs do follow through with that, excuse me, and then if maybe in addition to what Edelwolf said, if they could come up with a way to build quests around the old dungeons, I think that would be awesome. For example, I don't know if there are any other Ultima fans out there, but Ultima 9, for example, tied each of the virtues to a specific dungeon. You had to take the avatar, and you had to clear the dungeons, and basically it would each resurrect a virtue within the game. And I'm sure there's a lot of creative folks at Electronic Arts. I'm sure there's a way they could figure it out. After all, I mean, a lot of the virtues are not even finished yet, like you guys said before. So I think it'll be, instead of working on new content, I think it would be awesome if the dev team revisited, the old land, the lands that, some of us have known for 8-9 years, and, even decades from the old Ultima games. I think if they did that, it would be probably the best addition to the game.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Definitely agree with you on that one. Livia, let's hear from you.
I just kind of wanted to expand on Lank's comment. He reminded me of a time when the guild went on a hunt to Hyloth, and we had such a hard time defeating the Balron that we had 22 ghosts skated back to the castle, and I was just cracking up because we had all these oohs going on all over the place. But for me, the dungeons aren't really too easy. It's just that there's not enough neat stuff to get. Why should I bother going to Shame to get some gold? I have plenty of gold. I want to get some neat stuff. So for me, it's not that the dungeons are too easy. It's just I don't have a reason to go there unless I'm doing something special, like leading maybe a scavenger hunt or something. It's really nice to do the scavenger hunt in an empty dungeon because you don't have to worry about people coming and taking the prizes.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point that you make there and everything, because I think a lot of players like yourself, Olivia, agree with you and feel kind of the same way about, going to dungeons now and everything. So, I mean, it's like, what's the point of even going there if all you're going to get, for the most part, is just gold? Go ahead, Ada Wolf.
I was about to say on Olivia's comment there, those ghosts, they were actually doing a candidate interview. In the middle of the interview, all 22 ghosts came walking through a gate. So it kind of surprised the candidate a little bit on that one.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of those candy ICQs, not candy ICQs, but candid moments, which Stratic does on a regular basis, it seems. And, those are very interesting always. So let's move along here and everything. I guess some of the people out there and everything want to know about whether or not you guys use TeamSpeak or in UO Automap. And since you guys seem very familiar with TeamSpeak, I would have to imagine that you guys do use TeamSpeak to some form or fashion. And if so, if that's the case, how does that affect y'all's role playing? I mean, does it have any impact on that? Does it take away from the role playing aspect or what? Go ahead, Ada Wolf.
Yeah, we use TS primarily for our PvP side, not as much on the PvE. We actually use Automap for that instead. Only because we don't want to make it mandatory for everybody, but it is mandatory, obviously, for our Bearstone PvP. So I really, have never seen that cause a major impact, to be honest. It's just a tool we use to go ahead and work with the game. I'll let Lank go ahead and add to that.
Go ahead.
I don't have anything major to add. I was just also going to say that I don't think it takes away from the role-play aspect, because in the situations where we do use TeamSpeak and UOAM, it's basically for times when we need to communicate, really fast with each other when we're fighting, a champ or other players or an extremely tough monster. It is distracting to be typing out, technical messages to each other like heal me or go north, go south, go east, and I don't think using TeamSpeak instead of typing those kind of things out in the party chat, I don't think that takes away from the roleplay aspect of the game.
So in other words, like TeamSpeak has been a great asset to you, and so has UO Automap, right?
Yes, I do endorse TeamSpeak and Automap.
All right. And let's see, Livia, go ahead.
I think that TeamSpeak has been really useful for bringing the members of the guild together as more of a family. You get to hear the people, you know who you're talking to as far as what their voice sounds like. For me, that's been really nice. It makes me feel closer to the people that I play with. So I use that, and also UO Automap. I don't use TeamSpeak that much right now, but if I'm doing PvP, I'll use it for the bears.
Right, but another good thing about TeamSpeak, what I've always noticed from my own personal experiences, is that you can learn so much more about a person by their tone of voice, which you don't have with text in the game. So you might try to convey a feeling or emotion or something like that in text, or try to convey something, but it's not quite always understood without a tone of voice, and so that's always something I think is a great asset, or a great attribute of TeamSpeak, of having TeamSpeak, and being able to use it, because you can understand the situation so much better than you can in text. Go ahead, Heinz.
I just wanted to add, I think that TeamSpeak, as Adel has said, is very important, especially in the PvP area. If you look at the better PvP guilds, the better Fel guilds, the better champion guilds, I think you'll see that they utilize the tools to the best of their ability. They are in TeamSpeak all the time. They do use Automap all the time, and I think that it's no secret that they are the best guilds because where that's a major factor contributing to their prowess in Fel.
Right. And let's see. Oops, I think I lost something here. Go ahead, Livia.
For me, playing UO, I can't play it without UO Automap. I would be totally lost. It's so much easier to find my way around. I really think they ought to incorporate UO Automap into UO at some point. It just seems a natural part of the game. And that and UO Assist, I could not live without those two programs.
That would be very nice if they were to integrate it into the game or something like that. And something else I think they ought to do, when we're talking about integrating things into Ultima Online, that are really helpful tools. Something I personally would find helpful is if they were integrate, do any of you guys remember that old chat feature in which kind of looked like an IRC chat room over inside the game or whatever? I wish they kind of replaced that with a real IRC server, so we can connect to like Stratix IRC or something like that, and talk to the people in an IRC channel, because then you could get many different people from many different shards communicating with one another on a IRC channel inside the game or whatever, or on an IRC network. And I think that would be a great asset if they were to put a feature in like that. Replace some useless feature which nobody hardly uses now with something that people would take more advantage of. Go ahead, Lank.
I just wanted to say that I think that Ultima is a very, very old game, and it's a second generation MMORPG, and I think that UAM and UO Assist are as integrated into the game as you can get them to be. I think both of these programs were written by players, and they have been with Ultima for a very long time. So I think probably they are as integrated as they can get, and I'm not sure that Electronic Arts taking over the development of these programs would make it so better, because they are already good, because they are they are being constantly worked on by players for the players.
Yeah, that's a very good point that you make there and everything. So let's see. I guess there's no more comments on that and everything, so let's move along here. And so Adewolf, you say you're the founding member of your guild and everything. Is there anybody else in your guild that when you formed the guild, did you have any other founders, like co-founders or anything like that? And are they still around, or what? Tell us a little bit about that.
Actually, as I said, when I first built the guild, it was just supposed to be a stone for my alt character, so it was just me, myself, and I. And and just slowly started adding people. So we do have a few folks who've been around for 5+ years. A couple of our H-teamers have been around quite that long, which is kind of nice. But really no initial founding group though for the guild, to be honest.
All right, and now I got a question to ask you, and it's a serious one. When you say me, myself, and I, was one of your alts named Irina?
Absolutely not.
Well, I got that from a movie, by the way. I think it had John Kerry in it or whatever. But anyways, in case you didn't get that, let's see. The next question I got here for you guys is, how did you guys come up? Well, I guess I already asked that one earlier and everything. How long have you guys played Ultima Online? I'm going to ask you guys individually because I know you guys mentioned it a little bit earlier. I think one of you guys said 3.5 years. But Adawolf, how long have you been playing? I don't know if you ever said that.
Actually, I missed out on beta, but I joined soon after the launch.
Okay, and so have you ever been into the PvP aspect, or what's your role in the game for the most part? What do you do whenever you do go in the game, whenever you log into the game, being the guild leader that you are and everything?
Mostly herd cats, that's pretty much it.
Okay, and do you actually, for example, play the game much anymore, or do you, for the most part, just take a managerial role of just managing a bunch of people?
A lot of stuff behind the scenes currently. Actually, I'm on a temporary vacation right now. After run for 5 years, it's been quite a while. But luckily, I have a lot of other folks kind of help, run with the managerial stuff for the group itself. Then the game itself, I do a little bit of PvP. I do mostly PvE stuff, crafting stuff, just exploring the new content.
Okay, and let me ask you this: so whenever, if and you ever do come to the decision of ever quitting Ultima Online, what would happen to the guild? I'm not saying that's going to happen or whatever. Not suggesting that it's going to happen or that you told me anything that we haven't discussed here. I'm not alluding to that. But in the event something like that should ever happen, what do you think would happen from there? And would you just disband the guild, or would you just turn over, hand the torch off to somebody else, or what's the procedure?
Well, luckily I have a lot of really got a lot of really smart, very dedicated folks around that have been in the High Council for anywhere from 2 to 4 years in the guild. So even today, honestly, I don't make all the decisions. The HC does all the decisions. I am just one vote of many. I founded the guild, but we all share power. I have a bunch of folks. We determine policy, make decisions, and that way, if any single person departs, myself included, the guild still runs. And that really is the design of the group. I mean, it's tough, I know, for some groups to kind of let go of that power, but I found it's been very effective to have a lot of really smart, really capable folks around me, like Heinz and Livia and all the other folks that help out with that. It's made the guild very successful as a result.
Yeah, I would imagine. So let's go and touch on your hierarchy system and your ranking system and everything, because how would you explain that to them? Like what's the hierarchy? From you downwards. What's the kind of ranks you guys have, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Basically, we start off with, of course, from the bottom up. That's probably a little bit easier. Everyone comes in as a member. Basically, we want to give folks the opportunity to lead, to do things, to prove themselves, and to excel. I think it's very important from a personal standpoint. Folks who prove their leadership are going to advance to the senior ranks and be entrusted with certain duties, and actually it's more work, basically. Again, as they progress, they start leading more hunts, lead more difficult venues, prove they can handle leading a group of 20 or 30 people out into a hard venue. They advance beyond that. After that, there are honor ranks, there are dual guards, more an honorary piece where folks who've been in the guild for 2 to 3 years or more advance to that level there. Then finally to the High Council. Most High Council, on average, have been members for 4 years. Which is usually a 2-year minimum to hit that rank, which I think kind of makes sense. Within our PvP still, we actually have to elect their own leaders. So I think it's a nice way of doing that. So those rotate. They choose who they want to lead in PvP. That's kind of nice. Overall, it works out pretty good. It gives folks goals. They can advance. They can achieve. It's also a double-edged sword because you do tend to get people who are very, very rank-focused. Honestly, most of our drama is on folks who are passed over for a rank or who want rank and who really are focusing on it for the wrong reasons. I mean, rank with our guild really is more, you're getting more work, you're getting more responsibility. That's what it all boils down to. And again, some folks are so fixated it tends to cause problems sometimes. But if you look at it, really, I think it's served us pretty well over the years. It does help us identify who are our future leaders.
Yeah, so it's basically kind of like an indicator of seniority, who's been with the guild the longest, and responsibilities and stuff like that. I really like that.
Well, I probably tell a little bit. It's not so much issue of seniority. We've had folks who've been in the guild for years who are still just members. We've had folks who've come in who've really overachieved, who've really shown what they can do in a short time period and advanced very quickly. So really, it's more a measure of your ability to lead, to work as not only as a leader but also as a follower. You have a lot of folks who walk in, they think the best thing since sliced bread, they're going to change the world. They may be good leaders, they're absolutely lousy followers. If you can't prove to us that you're a good follower first, you're never going to advance within the group itself. And if advancement's your sole goal, you are absolutely in the wrong group. And you know what? After 6 years, we can see it. We know who's doing it. And it's kind of funny on the outside watching it sometimes. The folks who you think they're being pretty slick about it. It's pretty humorous.
Yeah, I get an idea of how that goes. You get a few ambitious people in there, and they think they can make some radical changes, and it's like, whoa, what are you doing here? Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Let's see, Brian, go ahead.
I just want to build on what Adel said, is that one of the reasons I joined this guild because of the rank and structure. I liked having the different senior and command and everything. I also liked that we had the different orders for paladins and necromancers. I mean, it was just so detail-oriented that it just drew me in.
Yeah, I can imagine. Livia, go ahead.
For me, it was the structure of the hunts, because we have the hunts divided into teams, and the teams work together. The teams have their own colors so that you know who they are in the dungeon. You can find them, you can help them, you can work together. It's just so structured. It blew me away when I first joined, and I love that. That's one of the main things I like about the guild. And because the guild is looking for to build leadership in people, one of the things that helped was having an Ascension Quest type thing, and we have what's called the 5-time GM Ascension Quest. And what that is once you hit your 5 GM skills, then you can do this quest, and you start off in Ilshanar basically just with a normal weapon and normal equipment and a couple items to help you out, and you have to defeat certain monsters, achieve certain goals, and turn those into the High Council. And when we see that you've achieved those goals, then you are awarded a medal for completing the Ascension Quest. And for me, that was such a confidence builder. It gave me such a different way of looking at UO, and it's one of the most wonderful things I've ever done in the game.
Yeah, I can get an idea as to how that goes and everything. And I noticed you guys keep mentioning High Council a lot, and I do have a little question about that. But before I go ahead and ask the question about the High Council, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Adewolf. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of touch base on what Livia and O'Brien said. A lot of folks like the guild for the structure, for the titles. The reality is our titles are not arbitrary. If they were, I'd call everyone Grand High Poobah and be done with it. The titles really directly do translate to demonstration of leadership skills. For example, in order to be a senior member, you have to, lead so many little groups in a hunt. And we have to see, can you take, 3 people, lead them effectively, and succeed? And that's something not everyone can do or may even want to do. The next step, can you take, 4 separate squads below you? Can you take this group of 20 people and lead them effectively? We've had folks who are just, phenomenal hunt leaders, which is great. And we've had folks who've, tried, and they've been absolute butchers and gotten whole hunts killed repeatedly. It's brutal. So again, all part back to the whole ranking and the entire system is about, again, building leadership and building our future leaders. And really, every single member, other than myself, every single member of our High Council, every single person in the Dual Guard, all of them have started at the very lowest rank and, worked their way up. That's how the whole goes. Why it takes years to achieve these things. I think having long-term goals is a good thing within the guild itself, too.
Right. Well, about the High Council and everything. How many people do you guys have on it? Or is there a limit on how many people can be on the High Council, or is there no limit? Or what's the structure involving the High Council? Well, how's that, work out?
There is no hard limit. We have certain slots. We leave some of them open for years. Sometimes if we don't feel, we've had our court tamer open for a long time now. We really, it's more a case of as we see folks advance over the years, and we say, you know what, we need a couple more people, we need more folks for decision making, or this is a really, really good person. Is this person someone we want to have on the HC down the road? We may even talk about somebody, 6 months to a year before they even advanced up. Some folks we very carefully, watch their careers within the guild, within UO. Before we finally make the decision. So there's no hard, fast limit. Right now you probably have, half a dozen at this point. We've had up to 11 sometimes. It really just varies based on activity and stuff like that. Since, with a multi-year investment, some folks, have kids, they leave the game for a bit, they come back. A little bit fluid there. But we take them very seriously when we make those decisions, and they are, long-term commitments, long-term decisions.
Okay, and I guess my next question is about the whole Court of Tamers, or whatever the title was. I noticed that they advocate tamer or a certain profession. Can you elaborate as to why they would advocate their profession and what kind of impact that does have on the guild and stuff like that? I mean, what is exactly their role? I mean, because I noticed this is kind of unique in a way, and from what I'm seeing, because you don't normally see this in a lot of guilds.
Well, I'll say running a guild this size is a lot of work. Where I've personally seen guilds fail in the past is where you're the one guy running the guild. You want complete control. You want to do everything yourself, and it burns you out. I mean, one person simply cannot manage over 100 players. It's not going to happen. You have to have folks help you out. So what I did when I first built this whole thing up was rig it where I have one High Council member. All he does is schedule hunts. That's his entire job. I have Livia, who just handles all the candidacies and the candidate stuff. I have a second in command, Keely, who helps with a lot of administrative stuff. I have folks in charge of the different classes. In charge of the mages, in charge of the warriors, in charge of the ducal guard. So everyone has a title, but also a very specific duty they have to do. For example, some folks have to run tournaments periodically. Some folks have to handle security. Some folks have to handle recruitment. So we basically divvy out all these different duties to different HC members. So it's not just getting a pointy hat and a nice title. It really is you're getting a lot of work. And again, as a result, if any one of us leaves or has to go on vacation or whatever, the guild still runs. The guild functions. That's the whole idea.
Right, and also to make it entertaining and keep the factor that lured so many people in the first place. So yeah, I can definitely understand that. But the one I was really curious about is exactly for example, you have somebody that advocates for tamers or something like that. What is the purpose of having somebody advocate for a certain profession? I mean, surely it has some kind of positive role or impact on the guild as to the course in which the guild goes in or whatever else. So, I mean, that's something I'm kind of really curious about because it's, like I said, it's something you don't normally see. I mean, I understand the whole logistics of having all the, various different ranks and everything to, keep structure and keep the guild running smoothly. But what's the purpose of, all these other various ranks, or is it just a title, for the most part?
Well, in the case of the HC, even the ones a little bit below that, the idea is that, I personally don't play a tamer 24/7. It's not my main profession. So I have somebody here who, they're a tamer or they're a bard, or they really know the class, so when we're starting to fabricate, policy, hunt rules, how do we handle different venues, they're really the advocate for that class. So say, hey, should we allow, rune beetles on hunts, yes or no? They'll say, well, here's the pros, here's the cons, here's how it works. So it depends on, let's say we have brand new paladin abilities pop out. We have a paladin who says, hey, here's how those abilities work. Here's what makes sense. Here's what doesn't work within the scope of a hunt. So they're really their advocates for their specific class. So it's what they have to be of that class and they're chosen for that rank.
Okay, so kind of like an advisor for the most part.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. I guess I answered my question on that one. Go ahead, Heinz.
I just wanted to kind of expand on what Adel said about with the High Council, how the High Council is used, because obviously with a guild our size. I also know that Adel had mentioned that he does a lot of work behind the scenes, which he does, and I think that that's one of the things that a lot of members of larger guilds like ours just don't realize. I obviously play the game because I enjoy playing the game, but because of my position, I'm not able to play quite as often as what I'd like. There's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes. Not that I'm overworked or anything, but I spend a lot of time on ICQ with other High Council members or memberships who do have questions or concerns about the guild in general, but also certain specific incidents. So there's a lot of that goes behind the scenes, a lot of things that have to be addressed, because part of maintaining a good membership is showing that you do care, is taking care of issues in a timely fashion. So I just wanted to mention that as far as some of the responsibilities of the High Council.
Yeah, that's a very good point that you make, because I can definitely relate to that, being, the owner of your radio and everything. It's always that, people like myself and Ada Wolf were always working behind the scenes, and a lot of people just do not get the fact that, we're working our butts off here, and we just don't always have the time to just sit here and give you, all the time in the world to, just chit-chat with you. And it's not because we're being rude, it's just because we're busy with trying to keep everything together and keep everything running smoothly. I think, Ada Wolf can definitely attest to that one, because whenever you have a large organization or something, it definitely requires a great deal of work. And, I have to definitely salute him for that, because, that's what really makes guilds such as Clan Marak Fowl of Napa Valley such a great guild and everything. So I definitely salute you over there, Ada Wolf. Go ahead.
Yeah, and really at the end of the day, our job in the HC is make sure everyone has fun, and there's a lot of stuff, some not very pleasant we have to go ahead and do to square that away. And, as long as, the folks in the guild are having fun, they're succeeding, things are running smoothly, our job is done. And that does take a lot of behind-the-scenes work, not from myself, but also from all the other High Council members, too. And, it's just a very integral part of keeping organization like this operational. Right.
That's very understandable. So my next question here is just exactly how many people do you guys have at any one point in time online, for example? Because I know a lot of guilds out there have a lot of members, but it's like, for the most part, a lot of their alt characters and stuff. So if you could give me a number as to how many unique players actually are in your guild, and how many are on at any given time of the day and stuff like that, or at the peak of the day or whatever, can you give me some numbers on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the number of unique players is currently. On a typical day, we'll have 10, 15 online at a given time. For hunts, you might see 15, 20, 30 people sometimes. We've had hunts where I've actually had 40 people on one hunt before, which was unusual, but it does happen sometimes. So it really varies. I mean, obviously, when finals hit, numbers go down. Summer vacation, you have some spikes there. Goes in cycles. Generally, it's usually a pretty good, active player base.
Right. Well, speaking of that and everything, have you guys have a policy or anything about, people joining other guilds with their alternative characters, or what's your policies on that? Because I know some guilds are very opposed to, people going out and joining other guilds and stuff like that with their alternative characters and stuff like that. So what is y'all's policy on that, or do you guys really not impose any restrictions on that?
Really boils down to conflict of interest. For example, at the Ducal Guard and HC levels, you have to be M F exclusive. You gotta be in our guild. Obviously, if you're a High Council member, you should be so focused on the main guild, you have no time for anything else. Within our PvP stone, obviously, if you're part of another PvP guild that's, raid nest, whatever, conflict of interest. We actually have some pretty detailed rules as far as ROE. We've had folks who have been in PvP guilds who occasionally bump into us and fell. It happens sometimes, and there are rules for that. Hey, you know what? If you bump into us, you stand down. You don't attack one of our folks on your main or an alt. That's just the rule. We've had issues in the past, obviously, that form these policies based on folks being in other guilds and causing drama and stuff. So it's been easy to say, you know what, once you're a certain level of responsibility, you have a choice. If you want to advance with the group and have more responsibilities, great, no problem. Expectations are you focus on this skill exclusively. And to me, I think that's fair. I think it's very reasonable.
Let's see. Actually, one of our former DJs here have a question for you guys, and I want to actually read it out. What about the guild uniforms? Is it something that they require or highly encourage? Because I know some guilds out there require guild uniforms and stuff like that. So, with your guild and everything, do y'all require uniforms or what? Because I know over in Europa, they're pretty strict about that kind of stuff in some cases. So, Livia, starting with you.
Yeah, we don't have a required guild uniform except for the Ducal Guard. The Ducal Guard is a very prestigious rank, and they are supposed to protect the Duke. That's kind of our role play kind of aspect, and they are required to wear a uniform. But other than that, nobody else is. The PvP stone that we have, the Bear Clan, you aren't required to wear a uniform, but because of the role-playing aspect, we try to get everybody to do something that would be Bear Clanish, such as wearing the bear mask, and also wearing tans, greens, foresty kind of colors, and asking for fish steaks when you kill your victims, that kind of thing, getting into the role-play aspect for the PvP stone.
Asking for fish sticks whenever you slay an opponent, yeah, that's definitely a new one for me. Go ahead, Adolf.
Yeah, actually, we had one guild give us over 60,000 fish steaks in tribute one time. But back to the uniforms. We've had our DG uniform for about 5 years now, very consistent. It is the only uniform we have within the group. Every order has colors. Some folks like to use the colors. It's a personal preference, and we don't enforce it, except for the DG, obviously.
Okay, and if you can tell me what are the colors of the guild, because I mean, back in the old days, before we even had guild stones or guild abbreviations or anything for that matter, we typically wore uniforms, and I'm sure you can pretty much recall those days and everything. So, I guess if your guild doesn't have guild colors, then tell me what would those colors be if your guild doesn't have colors, and if it does have colors, tell us what those colors are.
Well, this is a very short answer to a very long question. Basically, our guild colors are white and green.
White and green, very good colors. Mine was always red and black. Go ahead, Link.
Well, I just wanted to mention in relation with the guild uniforms that you asked about, that when we do go on hunts and we form up, team up into different lances, each lance has a separate color. And in those cases, each member is required to wear a significantly big enough piece of clothing that displays that color, so that helps the hunt leader and the lance leaders coordinate things on the field.
Yeah, very good point. And I got a question for you guys about guild colors. Do you guys believe that maybe the guild colors make an impression on people outside the guild? And if so, to what extent do you think that impression makes on people outside the guild? Starting with Adolf. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think on one hand, it is nice to see folks all in uniform and everything else. I think personally our reputation and our abilities probably speak louder than the uniforms folks may or may not wear. Actually, your actions. I mean, how do you interact with your other folks? And again, I think it's a lot more important than what you do or don't wear. I think L. Brian has a question here or answer too as well.
All right, go ahead, L. Brian.
Yes, I've actually been leading a hunt where we've had 3 lances of different colors lined out outside a dungeon as we're going over things in guild chat, ready to come in and have people come up and go, wow, just look at that. I mean, they're all organized, and I think it does make a good impression on people who are looking for something like that. I mean, it's not for everybody to go out in lances like that, but it does make an impression.
Yeah, I can remember the old days when I was in LLK over in Chesapeake and everything. And like I said, I was like third in command over there. And we had a queen and a king. We had like a monarchy system in our guild. And I can just recall the days in which we, basically had a 4-point guard around the queen. And she'd be walking and we'd be, walking in formation, 4 points, basically a square around her. And it was actually pretty awesome, just to see that uniformity in that regards. I do think it makes a great impression on guilds or people out looking on the outside in. And, you know, it's one of those things I kind of miss about the game because, you know, a lot of people don't adhere to dress codes anymore in the game. And I'm kind of, you know, and that's why I had to ask that question, you know, do you guys have a standard, you know, such as that? Go ahead, Ada Wolf.
A lot, too, is the equipment. I mean, back in the day, you were fine with GM gear and, you know, pretty good player skills. Now everything is so gear-centric. I mean, you're basically in a clown suit whether you like it or not. So it's a lot harder to enforce a uniform when your best gear is not going to adhere to those specific colors.
Yeah, especially when you're looking for certain properties for whatever situation you're in. It's kind of hard to get those properties and adhere to a dress code, and I think that's something we lost with Ages of Shadow. I mean, I don't know what y'all's personal opinion is on Ages of Shadow or some of the changes made over to the game over the years, but, you know, for the most part, have you guys liked them or disliked them or what? You know, I guess this is y'all's time to kind of like rant about it if you have any thoughts or opinions about the direction which the game is taking, and you never know, because I always tell everybody, every time you make an opinion or a thought or whatever, you have to keep in mind sometimes the developers are tuned in and listening, and they do take these kind of feedback, you know, to heart. So, Ada Wolf, go ahead.
I'll let the folks drill into more detail, but the reality is, you know, the game has changed a lot, and, you know, we adapt. I mean, every time an expansion hits, it's all about, okay, how do we take what they've added to the game, adapt to our guild culture, what makes sense, doesn't make sense. That's always a painful process, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we're all here, we all enjoy the game, and either you adapt and you accept it and you work with it, you know, or you quit. And those are your two choices, you know, and we've always consistently chosen to adapt to it. So I'm going to turn it over to other folks. I think they have some comments on this as well.
All right, and I'm going to come back here shortly to you, Ada Wolf, and ask you what are your thoughts about a pre-UR shard or a classic shard in which they've been discussing over on U-Haul recently. So I'm going to come back to you on that and see if that would be something you would even be interested in, or you're just perfectly content with the game the way it is now. So I'll go ahead and go to these other folks, and I'll come back to you. Go ahead, L. Brian.
Yeah, see, I started playing after AOS, so I don't know anything about the good old days as everybody puts them. But with the changes, everybody's had to adapt. I know there's a lot of griping about the way the game's going now, but I think the developers are on the right foot now, changing some of the artwork back. I'd rather see all the bugs and all the artwork fixed before they have another expansion. ML was another thing that Heinz talked about earlier. It's been great. I've not enjoyed hunting so much with my guildmates ever, because it takes more teamwork now with the ML bosses than any of the other dungeons that I've ever had to go through.
Right. I definitely agree that teamwork is an element that's badly needed in this game, and they, to some extent, have restored some of those elements with the Modane's Legacy, but for the most part, I just had to sometimes believe, you know, that we lost a great deal of unique elements to the game when we saw the introduction of Trammel, Ages of Shadow, and so forth. So, you know, that's why I'm asking you guys these questions. And go ahead, Heinz.
I just wanted to mention that, like Elbry and I also came in right before the Age of Shadows, so the changes were not noticeable to me. And the truth, as far as with the game changes, this game is a living game. It is going to change on a periodic basis. Folks can say that that's a bad thing. Well, it's never as good as what it used to be when I was really good. You should have seen me, blah, blah, blah. But it's also a good thing, because the developers are constantly looking at this has to be changed instead of, well, we made the change, we're not going. So I think that from that aspect, the change really is a bad thing. And also the truth is that that folks will learn to adapt no matter what. They're going to excel. I mean, for instance, right now in Fel you have, or a while ago, you had the archers, which were way overpowered. Okay, well, they scaled that back. Well, you know, something people found a way to dominate or to excel no matter what. I remember a particular nerf that they did to piecing about a couple of years ago, and I remember some people saying, well, are we going to even be able to do Blood Dungeon anymore? We're not able to piece the ball around for as long. But, we found a way to do it and excelled. And no matter what, people are going. We have a lot of people that are able to give ideas on how to accomplish these things.
All right, and that's a very good point that you made there and everything. And so, Link, let's hear from you now.
Well, there's just one thing that I'd like to bring up specifically. I mean, in 8 years, I've seen more changes than I can even remember. But the one problem that I've always had is that during the last 8 years, we've progressively had more and more and more neon colors. And, for those of us that enjoy, Ultima for the world that it has to offer, some of these neon colors, when we saw them for the first time, and sometimes still when we see them today, we just cringe and wonder what kind of crack, people who invented these things were on. And, there is talk on U-Haul, from some of the new developers. I think Cat had said that they are going to try and curb down or tone down some of the neon tones. So I really do hope that they follow through with those plans.
Yeah, I totally have to agree with you on that. It would definitely be a great thing, but then a lot of people are also going to be kicking in and screaming about, oh, you changed my neon colors. I don't have them anymore. Woohoo. That's just my personal opinion, but you know that people are going to be screaming and kicking about it. Regardless, you can never please both crowds, unfortunately, in this game. So, Link, let me ask you this real quick, because I do know you're a veteran player who's been playing this game for a very long time. Would you play on a Classic Shard?
Would I play on a Classic Shard? I'm not really sure. I mean, you see a lot of, support for Classic Shards on Stratex, on the forums, and, there's disagreement as to which exact client they should go back to create this Classic Shard. So I'm not really sure they define anymore, because some people liked it better when there were no Dexters, or some people liked it just when Dexters peaked. Some people liked it when Mages peaked. So I'm really not sure where they would what point that they would define for a pre-ran shard that everybody would enjoy. And I do enjoy playing my own characters, so I'm not entirely sure that I would be playing on a pre-run shard.
Yeah, that's a very tough decision. Yeah, I have to agree. Especially if you're in a guild that you really like and everything, and you're kind of adjusted over the years to the new changes and everything. Yeah, it would be kind of hard to just get up and leave and say, well, I'm going to go over to another shard and not have your friends over there or your guild. And yeah, it definitely would be a challenge. You have something else to add to that, Link?
Yeah, I completely agree with you that, for those of us who've been playing, creating characters on a shard for over 8 years, I'm not sure that we would be willing to leave all that behind just to go to a different shard where you'd have a bunch of people who are all hyped up about only PvP and pre-ran rules. So I'm not sure that people would really want to leave their communities behind just to experience different PvP gameplay.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Unfortunately, I'm not in a huge guild, or let alone a guild of anybody. I'm just a loner for the most part over on Chesapeake, so I wouldn't have much of a trouble just dropping the hat on Chesapeake and moving over there. But I can definitely understand where you're coming from. So, Libya, you're next. What are your thoughts?
I love all the changes that they've made. I'm really into quests. I love quests and crafting, and I hate to say this, but being a girl, I like to decorate and I like to craft. So that's what I like to do. And for me, having the old, a classic shard, I could care less. But I don't see why they can't have it just for other people. I mean, if you want to play on it, why not make one? Big deal. I remember when I started, I was a beta tester. And when I first started the beta test, it was like swimming. You could hardly move. It was so funny. And I was on dial-up besides, so that really affected how the beta was for me. And then when the game came out, my husband played too, so we played together. But he quit because at the time there was only the one shard, and PvP, you could do it everywhere, and he couldn't PvP himself out of a wet paper bag. So he gave up playing. And me, I'd run faster than he did, I guess. It didn't bother me to get killed. I'd just run out of town naked to go mine and come back and do my thing. But I'm really glad about all the changes. I don't have to worry about leaving town and getting killed and not being able to do what I want to do. I can enjoy the game, and if I want that, I can go to the other shard and have that. So you have both. But as far as having the classic shard goes, I don't see why they just don't make one. Big deal. Let them have the shard. I mean, you've got these ones to play on, and give them that one for the other people that want to play on that.
Very good point. And I think you didn't get killed because you're probably going around as a woman in the game and everything. I think people back then had a lot more respect for each other than they do now. Unfortunately, that's something I think has changed over the years. Maybe Ada Wolf will agree with me on this one, but go ahead, Ada Wolf.
Yeah, I'm going with Olivia said, that's what Lang said too. You know what? First thing is, what classics are you talking about? Are you talking, which publication, pre-ran, what rule set? There's a lot of questions there. But they want one, go ahead and build one, I mean, some folks really, really enjoy that. Personally, I like choice. I can play PvE, I can play PvP, I can do whatever I want to. And I can go from facet to facet, no problem. That's what I like about the current rule set. I do enjoy the new content. But again, there is a group that really, really enjoys the old stuff. I mean, I like some of the pre-run stuff, like, be able to go out and GM gear and have fun. You simply cannot do that, with the new rule set. So that part I do miss. You know what? If they want one, build one. I see no problem with that, and some folks will thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for the most part, whenever I look back, and I guess, because really, whenever I look at NapaValley, I don't really see NapaValley as a huge shard like some of the other ones, like Atlantic, Great Lakes, Lake Superior, and Chesapeake. I mean, I've never really known NapaValley as to be a great, huge shard. But then again, I could be entirely wrong about that, but I guess in a lot of ways, if you're in a huge guild over on a shard like NapaValley, then you really wouldn't have that missing element where you feel like you're in a small world, or that you just feel like the game is too sparse, spread out to where you just don't encounter many players anymore. I mean, that's always been my little concern and gripe about, about the way the game's headed now, because I just felt like, back in the old days, we were pretty much all confined to one landmass, and now everybody's all spread out. Malice, Trammel, Ishlander, and all these other facets, and Palooka, and so that was something I was wondering if you guys ever, sometimes feel about the game, and and if that's how you feel, or you feel any way like that. What do you think they could do? Because the thing in which they mentioned with the classic shard is that it's not going to be a pre-UR shard. They already ruled that one out. They said, it's too impossible to please everybody with a pre-UR shard, because you have some that like publish 16, some that like publish 15, 14, 13, so on, etc., etc. But the thing was that Darkscribe, the commander-in-chief of basically Ultima Online, who's the producer, he had pretty much alluded to that, a classic shard would be more feasible, and what it would do is basically be like a hybrid of things that we have now in the game. For example, like guild chat feature, some of the new features that we didn't necessarily have back then, like the guild stone feature or the guild management feature, which we have now, would probably be in the classic shard. It wouldn't be entirely pure, pre-UR, but it would be, more modern pre-UR, I guess you would say. But go ahead, with that thought in mind, I want to hear on that. Ada Wolf, go ahead.
Yeah, again, same thing. We have a very strong, very healthy, organized group, and we really have no motivation to move. I'm sure there are folks out there who would thoroughly enjoy, a shard like that. And you know what? Build it. I think it's a fantastic idea. I really wouldn't envision many of our membership going over there, just because, again, we're already in a strong, healthy, active group. We have all the stuff we need. And that's just my 2 cents on that one.
Right, and like I said, that's totally understandable. Link, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of comments about, not seeing so many people in town as you used to. Well, first of all, the game has grown. People have been playing this game for a very long time, and I think Ultima has pretty much outgrown that phase. Back then when everybody started, we pretty much had one main character, and we'd sometimes work a year, just to be pretty competitive. And yeah, we'd go to towns and we'd be at banks, and there would be smiths, and tailors making stuff and repair. It's sadly gone because now everybody has a tailor and everybody has a crafter. Or these communities have pretty much just condensed themselves into guilds, larger guilds like ours, for example. Every day we have crafters come on our guild chat and ask people if anybody needs repairs, and that takes care of that. I'm not sure that if you create a pre-ran shard, that people would go there, and if you would have this type of community again, because again you would have a very limited number of players going over there, playing at different times. You have people playing Ultima from all over the world, so you'd have time issues. And I'm not sure that as an experienced player that I would really want to relive that again, because I've been through that phase in Ultima. My first 3 years at least playing this game have purely been learning, and trying to get competitive. So I think that part of the community phase has been outgrown. I think they have taken steps to take the game back towards that a little bit. Luna, I think, is a good example, which is currently the town of choice for bank sitters and community on NapaValley. You have people selling things there. All the main vendor houses are in Luna. So I don't think that community aspect of the game is completely gone. It just moves along as the people in the game grow themselves. And the other comment that I'd like to make before I get off this topic is that NapaValley lately has how do you define a shard that is very active? NapaValley lately, in the PvP sense at least, has had major ongoings. There's a lot of people X-sharding to NapaValley at the moment, and this has caused an interesting chain of events. Currently, our larger PvP guilds are consolidating and absorbing smaller guilds in response to the alliance or the threat that X-sharders pose. And I think that currently that makes NapaValley a pretty active and pretty exciting shard to play on.
That's a very good point and everything. And I'd like to come back to you on that, Link, here in a minute with a question to that, because you mentioned something that is very interesting. You mentioned threats from X-sharders. So I might be coming back to you here in a minute about that. Livia, go ahead.
Right now, for me, with all the things that have been put into UO, there's so much to see and do for new players. And one of the things I really like to do is I like to play tour guide. So I kind of find people that are in the young state, or maybe people that haven't done much in the game, and I try to take them places that they haven't been, like Lenmere and Finmodus. Not many people go there. Not many people know how to get there. And sometimes I used to have these safari exploration hunts, and we'd just travel the whole landmass of Ilshanar or something like that, and just go places that you don't go because you don't normally think of going there. There's no reason that you would normally go there. And people say to me all the time, like, oh, I didn't know this was here. Oh, this is kind of cool. Oh, this looks neat. That kind of thing. So it's just fun to take people where they haven't gone and to show them everything there is.
Right, and I guess you would be able to find something like that in a guild like yours and everything, being as active that it seems to be, from what I'm gathering, and definitely sounds like a great experience. If you haven't got the full, gist of Ultima Online, well then that's the way to go. Join a big guild like Clan Marak Val of NapaValley. Link, now my question for you is this. You mentioned something a little earlier that really piqued my interest. You mentioned something about threats from X-sharders and everything. Have you, by any chance, over on NapaValley, ever encountered a guild called Empire of the Fallen Lords? And if so, have you guys ever crossed paths with them and fought them? Or do you even know about them? So anybody that knows about them, please let me see your little red light, and I'll call on you. Like, you know anything about them?
Doesn't ring a bell. What is their guild abbreviation?
I think it's EFL.
No, I've never heard of them.
All right. And, well, L. Brian, let's see if you know anything about them. Go ahead.
Yeah, they were on Napa probably about 6 to 8 months ago, and we banded together for a little bit and fought them off, but then it just got boring because we have a lot of, in the PvP field, we have a lot of infighting between guilds. I mean, you've got a couple of alliances, but most of them it's just everybody's out for themselves. So we had grouped together to beat FL, get them out of the champ area, and then everybody just turn on each other. So it really was counterproductive.
Ah, so you did know about them. Because I know they've been pretty much to just about every shard that there is that's here in the United States or North America. I don't think they've been over to Asia or Europe yet. Would be interesting if they ever did go over there, you know, considering what kind of ping time that you get over there. But Heinz, let's hear from you.
Yeah, FL was here. That's the abbreviation.
Did you say something, or am I losing you? Go ahead, Adewolf. Adewolf?
Oh, I think his connection's breaking up a little bit. Why he's cutting out there is all.
Oh, okay. I was kind of wondering about that. I figure, hell, I lost connection. Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead. Try again, Hans. Or Heinz. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that FL was here, and I think they had left sooner than what they had anticipated because they had come here right as the ML expansion had hit. So, truthfully, nobody wanted to really PvP that much. That was, you know, kind of the low point of the PvP in the past number of years, because everybody wanted to go and do the new Peerless. And so I think FL was here for, I don't know, maybe a month, and then they had left.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a very huge disappointment for them. Probably wasn't the best time for them to move during an expansion or whatever. So, I guess what I'm going to do is that we're just about at 1 hour and 30 minutes into the interview, and so what I'm going to do is ask one more question, and for all you guys, if you want to, is there anything we have not covered here today that you think that you might want to mention or talk about before we start wrapping things up? And if so, go ahead and turn on your little red light so that way I can, call on you and let you talk about anything else that you think we might not have covered here today during the interview. If not, forever hold your peace, and we will go ahead and wrap up. So, looking around. Nobody? Okay. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to ask Adewolf to go ahead and give us his website address for his guild, so people can go and check you out again, should they not have gotten there earlier. Go ahead, Adewolf.
Yeah, that's www.britannia-online.com.
And you guys are actively recruiting right now, right?
We're always open to folks who are interested.
All right, and there you go, folks. Anybody that want to go over there and join Clan Marak Fowl of Napa Valley, you're more than welcome to do so by going over www.britannia-online.com. And so I want to thank each and every one of you guys for taking your time out of the day to come and be with us here on Yale Radio. And so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and close up and give each and every one of you guys a opportunity to say goodbye and whatever else that you might want to say to all the listeners out there. So go ahead and start with you, Adewolf.
All right, thanks, folks, for listening to appreciate it, and again, give our address, and talk to y'all soon.
All right, and thank you. And let's see, Al Brian, let's hear from you.
Just want everybody to know that if you're on Napa Valley and you want the premier PVM guild and a pretty decent PvP guild, join us. I mean, that's the best thing to do. Just go to the website and fill out the candidacy application.
Speaking of which, when are y'all coming up on your 6th anniversary? Adawolf, go ahead.
Yep, in June will be our 6-year anniversary.
And do you guys have anything planned already for that, or are you still guys in the planning of what is it that you're going to do for that? I mean, is there anything special you guys do for that?
I expect it'll involve, lots of alcohol, fish steaks, and probably a bunch of naked ghosts at some point.
Wow. Another question: have you guys ever had a real life gathering or anything? Because I know some guilds over on other shards like LLTS, which is the syndicate, they every so often, like every year, once a year, they'll get together in real life and have a little party or something like that. Does your guild by any chance do anything like that?
Actually, a lot of our folks do get together periodically. We're just so spread across country right now that we don't get together the entire group. But we've had folks on the East Coast get together, folks on the West Coast get together, just more in one-off gatherings.
Okay, well, that's always exciting. So, because I know it's really neat whenever you can meet the players behind the characters and stuff like that, because it's just like a unique bonding experience, with those people. And somebody here discussed earlier about, the forming of a family and everything, and it really does help with that. So, yeah, I think those are a great asset to any guild to have those kind of real life gatherings and stuff like that. So, let me go back down to the list here. And Heinz, you want to say goodbye to everybody out there?
Oh, sure. Just want to say these past 3 years in the guild have been terrific. And if you are looking to join a great guild, like Elbrian said, to fill out an application. We're really good people and really looking to help people out.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Y'all do seem like really good, great people. And personally, if I played on NapaValley, I'd probably be over there joining you guys right now. But unfortunately, I play on Chesapeake. So let's see, Link. Let's hear from you. Say goodbye to everybody out there.
Be safe, everybody. Don't wear too many neon colors. Keep fish sticks in your pocket in case you encounter the bears. And Viceroy, thanks for having me on the show.
And thank you for being here with us. And last but not least, Libya. Go ahead.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to come in with ICQs asking for interviews. Thanks.
Not a problem. I'm sure a lot of guilds out there just, PMing, because I got my ICQs blinking, and they're probably like, well, can we get over there and have an interview? So once again, I want to thank everybody over here from Clan NapaValley of NapaValley for joining us here today. And if you want to, like I said earlier, and we said it 3 times now, I think, if you want to go over there and check them out, go to www.britannia-online.com. And so with that said, this is going to conclude our interview with Clan NapaValley of NapaValley. And this is DJ Viceroy from Chesapeake. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow here on the talk show at 5 p.m. Eastern. And next week, Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, where we will be interviewing another guild. So be sure to tune in for that as well. I'm not quite sure who we're going to be interviewing, but we'll see you then. Take care.